Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be learning how to play Halo Flashpoint. We're going to be doing a short demo that is basically a 2v2 slimmed down deathmatch, and this should give you a good rough idea of the rules, how the game works, and how you can play at least one of the variations, although there are a lot of different types of games beyond simple Slayer type of death matches. There's also oddball and lots of other different formats, but this is going to show you the gist of it, and hopefully if you guys like what you see here, there's more to dive into. There's a lot more rules, more maps, bigger teams, and a lot more coming, so you can check that out in the link in the video description below if you want to head over to Mantic and learn more about Halo Flashpoint. Big thanks to Mantic for sending this out. Plus, we are still doing that $50 Amazon gift card giveaway that's running through Halloween. You have a chance to enter to win that just by being a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. I'd love to hear from you guys what you think of Halo Flashpoint. Let's take a look at who will be in the battle today. On the blue team, we're going to start with the Spartan Mark 7 and the Spartan Deadeye. We'll look at the unit cards in a little more detail in just a moment. On the red side, we're going to start on the other side of the board is going to be the Spartan Zvezda and the Spartan Brawler. And this is a great way to get acclimated to the 4 different types of Spartans that come in the base game for the Recon Edition, as well as how the game works. And we are set up in starting positions with the red team in the back left corner and the blue team in the front right corner. Start of the first round, each team are going to roll 2 command dice. These are D6s that are going to give you lots of different things that you can do, letting you activate an extra model, add an extra die to an attack, an extra move, shoot a second time to do a melee attack, or a special order, which in the case of the Spartans is the special order snapshot. We'll roll these 2, and so I'll have these 2. This means when I do a move, I can add an extra move, or when I do a shot, I can add an extra shot. And the other team is going to roll those also. So as blue player, I'm going to go first, and I am going to choose a character to activate. In this case, I'm going to be choosing my Spartan Mark 7 here, who starts in this square right here. We have all these different cubes, these 3-inch, they're not just squares, but they're cubes, because they're also up-down distance as well. And I'm going to activate him. Now I can choose to take 1 long action or 2 short actions. Most of the actions you're going to take are going to be short actions. And these are going to be things like advance, which is like a move, or a shoot, which is another short action. In this case, I'm going to advance. Now my advance distance is going to be 2 cubes, and I will go up 1 and over to here. For 1 short action. If I needed to move longer than that, I could have done a sprint, which is a long action, which would have been basically my whole turn. But since I'm opting to go for 2 short actions, I'm going to take another short action, which is a defensive action, and that's going to be to crouch. That means I'm going to take this little crouch token and put that next to him right there, and that is going to give him a defensive bonus if he gets shot, since I expect to get shot here very soon. So now the red player is going to activate, and what they're going to do is they're going to pick one of their characters to activate, and this is a great time to look at the different character cards so we can see what information we're looking at when we look at our different Spartan cards here. So we've got Spartan Zvezda over here, and then we've got the Spartan Brawler. They each have the Energy Shield 2 keyword, which gives them 2 energy shields, as do all Spartans. However, the Zvezda also has the Scout keyword, which means after deployment, but before we start the first round, they would have gotten a 1 cube movement. So this one's actually going to start out just a little closer, and so maybe they're going to be a decent option to go with, possibly. But then again, the Brawler might be a good option since we're on a really small closed map. Well, let's look at some of the other stats between them. Now, the first we have SP, which is going to be their speed. This is going to be their movement. So the 1-3, it's not 1, 2, 3, it's 1 or 3. 1 is going to be if you take your short action, which is advance, but if you take your long action, which is going to be to sprint, you'll get the 3 movement. Now, this kind of is balanced by the fact that they're a scout, and they get a free move right away, but they only have 1 speed, whereas the Brawler has 2 or 3. So they're going to normally have 2, basically 2 movement to go. So the Brawler is going to be a little faster. The Zvezda is going to be a little bit slower. Our RA is going to be for our ranged. Now, this is the number that we need when we roll attack dice, which are D8 attack dice. This is the number that we need to beat. Meet or beat. So 4 plus means that a 1 would be a miss, a 2 would be a miss, but a 4 would be a hit. Anything higher than a 4 would also be a hit. When you are rolling attack dice to attack, 8s are exploding dice, which means like a headshot. So if you roll an 8, that means you get to roll an extra die. And if you that extra die, wow, I just actually did that. If that extra die is an 8, you can then roll another die, and so on and so forth. This means you could get a very, very accurate headshot that ends up with like 18 extra dice if you rolled an 8 on every single one of those. It's extremely unlikely to be quite that accurate, but that is one of those things that you can potentially do. But for range for successes, you are looking for that number right there. Our FI is your fight number. This is what we're doing for melee. This is our punch. So some people are better at brawling and some people are better at ranged. 5 up, the higher the number, that means the less likely you are to roll success with that. So a higher number is bad. So the Zvezda is better at ranged and not as good at melee. Whereas the brawler is better in melee than they are in ranged. Hence with the 3 up, which means almost every die is going to hit. Only 1s and 2s are going to fail there, which is pretty good. SV, that is going to be our survive number. So when we're doing a survive, whether this is basically your defensive save. So anytime somebody's attacking you, whether they're meleeing you or shooting you, you're going to be rolling dice, and you'll want to meet or beat that number to cancel out attacks. Your AR is going to be your armor. So after your shields are gone, you need basically your armor can absorb hits. Although when you're being attacked, shields are going to go down first. Once shields are down, any extra hits that come through will have to exceed your armor value. So if somebody attacks you, your shields are down, and they roll 2 hits, okay, well, good. You've got armor of 2, so it all goes to armor, nothing goes through. You need at least 3 hits, or some other special keywords like armor piercing abilities, which can pierce that armor. So armor is nice. It means they need to hit you kind of hard to get anything through. And then HP is going to be, well, you guessed it, your health. You take this many wounds and you are dead. This is a game where normally you can respawn, but in this game we're not going to respawn because this is a quick little tutorial. Now at the bottom is going to be their different weapons. So close combat, they have a M11 combat knife. I think all of the Spartans have that same combat life. Range is how far you can, how many cubes away you have to be. CC stands for close combat. You have to be in the same cube with somebody. AP means it will reduce their armor value, armor piercing. And then it has keywords. Any applicable keywords to the weapons will be right here. His ranged weapon that he comes with, the Zvezda, is the VK78, which is range 6, so very long range here, and also has some ranged keywords. Whereas the Spartan Brawler has the Bulldog, which is only range 2, but it does have armor piercing as well as some close range nasty keywords. So that's a quick look at the different stats. All right, so the red player is going to activate their Spartan Brawler, and they're going to start with an advance action. So their speed is 2 or 3, but since an advance is going to be 2, they're going to move up 1 and over 1 to here. Now they've range 2 difference between them. 2 cubes, 1, 2. So the Spartan Brawler for their second short action is going to go ahead and take a shoot action, and they're going to try and shoot my Spartan Mark 7 here. Now, shoot actions are very interesting because we start with 3 dice, and then we can look at different ways to add modifiers. There's a lot of extra modifiers that can be added, so ways to add extra dice and make a shot a little bit better. One of those is if you have the high ground over your opponent, if you're shooting down at them. Well, he's not, because they're both on the same elevation. They both climbed up onto terrain, so no high ground there. However, since there's no cover, no barricades or anything like that, it's a clear shot. He has him kind of out in the open, just standing around. So he's going to get 2 extra dice to add to that, which is a very nice thing. If he had a command die that was this symbol here, he could also spend that for another die. There's a lot of different ways that you can get extra dice. If he were crouched, for example, he might even be able to get an extra die from that. But we're going to roll 5 dice here, and our 8s are going to be exploding. And now our defender is also going to roll dice. Again, that will also start with 3. Since he's crouched, he will get an extra die for that as well. When attacking, you're also going to draw a true line of sight. So you actually want to get down behind your model and make sure that they can actually see the opponent, which through a lot of this terrain is going to be very relevant, although it makes it very easy when they're on top. All right, the Brawler will roll his dice here. Now, he has the ranged ability of 5+. So that means he needs 5s to hit. So a 5, 7, 7 will all hit. The 4 and the 2 will go away. So that is going to be 3 hits that make it through. Now we have 4 total dice for the defender here, and his survive is a 5 up as well. So it means the 4 and the 2 are going to go away. There's a 6 and a 7, so that's 3 hits and 2 saves. And basically that means 1 extra hit. Now, if there were no shields, that wouldn't be enough to get through the armor, but since the shields are up, that is going to spend that 1 shield, and now we've got a hit through, and that is combat. We're going to fast forward a little bit to talk about a couple of other concepts of having multiple occupancies in the same square. So you can have 2 allied units in the same square. So if he wanted to move in here, that would potentially work, but you have to be able to fit him in that same, in the same cube. But I couldn't add a 3rd allied character in there, even though that technically could potentially be able to fit. At max, if this guy wanted to join in as well, that is the maximum occupancy for any cube. But of course, again, they do have to have a place to fit. Now, if you start your activation in a cube, you're not going to be able to just shoot into that cube. You're going to have to do a close combat attack, and that is also because you're in that cube already. You're gonna have to do an assault action, which is a long action. You're engaged with melee. It limits your effectiveness, and you're gonna have to take your whole activation in order to do a melee attack. If you, however, were to move into the same cube as someone else, a couple of things happen. You get a free assault action. Basically, you're charging in, you get to attack them for free. However, I did talk about command dice before. The Spartans have this particular ability. Well, everybody has this ability, but the Spartans, this is basically your faction-specific ability. And the Spartans have a snapshot ability, which allows them to spend this if somebody does charge into their square and shoot them before that other person gets their free melee attack. And there are certain keywords like knockback that could potentially shoot them and kick them out of the square, denying their free ranged attack. And so that is pretty cool. Let's do an example of a melee attack with red coming in here to attack blue. Now, melee or close combat attacks have some very similar rules. You're still going to start off with a 3 dice attack, but you have different ways to add dice to those attacks. For example, if you moved in, if you triggered this assault action, if you had triggered this close combat melee attack, by moving in this turn, you get to add 2 dice for that. So it's the element of surprise is with you. If you have another friendly model in the same cube already, you get to add an extra die for that. If he was pinned at the start of this action, for example, if he was knocked down, which we lay him down for that, then you can, or actually we can use this little pinned cube as well, but I like the idea of laying them down for that. But you're not really supposed to do that because you can block movement for somebody else. So the pinned action, the pinned token is more appropriate. But yes, if they were pinned, then you also get an extra die as well. And you also get an extra die if they were already injured, if they have wounds on them. We have wound tokens that can assign to them as well. But in this case, they charged in. There'll be 5 dice, and we get these now. There's 2 8s in this roll, which is just stellar. And this guy, this brawler here, he has a 3 up for fight, which means these are all going to hit. But because there's 2 8s, I get 2 more dice. And I'm going to use one of the black ones here because I don't actually have any more. All right, so a 6 and a 6. So those are all hits. So that's a total of 7 successes. Massive, really nice thing. All right, so for his defense, he's going to start with, again, 3 dice. And he is, if there's another friendly model in the same cube as him, he gets an extra die. And if his attacker was injured, he'd get an extra die. But none of those are true, so he's only going to get 3. And he saves on a 5 up. So he only blocks 1 of those. So out of the 7, 6 are going to go through. Now, the interesting thing about this, and why I wanted to showcase this, is because the combat knife here does have armor piercing of 2, which means the 2 armor that the Spartan Mark 7 has are not going to cancel dice, and that is going to be enough to take down his shield and do all 4 wounds to him and then some. So that's going to totally eliminate the Spartan Mark 7. And at least in the tutorial scenario, we're playing until all enemy characters are eliminated. So now red is just about to win. Now, when you advance into more different, more advanced gameplay, there are also tokens that are going to come on the board. Sometimes there'll be objective-specific tokens. Sometimes there'll be weapons that will be all randomized with this same symbol on the back, and it'll be a different weapon. And then again, those will all be referenced by different cards that are going to be in the game that have a different weapon that your character can use. And then sometimes there's power-ups that are also referenced in the rule book as to what they do. Very much just like a normal deathmatch that you would play in Halo, whether you're playing Slayer or Capture the Flag or any of those games. Game modes from the classic video game series, you're going to see those represented here in Halo Flashpoint as well. So basically, that's kind of how you play in a nutshell. As far as the turn, the way a turn works, each player is going to pick one character, activate it, and then goes back to the other side. They'll pick one character and activate it until every character has activated. Then you'll start a whole nother round. You'll roll command dice again, and whoever went last can't then go first. So you kind of keep alternating back and forth. But yes, and that's normally you're playing with 4 characters. There's also rules to play with like hero characters like Master Chief. They would take the slot of 2 different characters, so you'd be at a disadvantage as far as total activations if you're playing with like a legendary hero character like Master Chief or any other legendary hero characters that will come out, which I'm sure there will be several more. So a lot of cool things are planned for this game, and there's a lot more depth as you want to dig into it. There's more terrain options as well, and of course you can use any kind of terrain you want, although the terrain that comes with the game is actually really cool and facilitates gameplay pretty easily. So and it's double-sided, which I talked about in my unboxing video, which is also super groovy. But yeah, that is a quick look at Halo Flashpoint. Hopefully this gave you a primer on how to play the game. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and we will talk to you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. The spice must flow. Party on, dudes. And always wash your socks.